Hey everybody, Mike Fifer, Fifer Hobby Supply. Like you don't know that, I tell you every time. Anyway, we're going to do update 71 today. It's been a little while because I have just been bummed out that I could not figure out problems down here on the other end. And it turned out that it was very simplistic once I got my brain straight. But I don't know. I'm not a multitasker or anything, and I just have an issue when my brain gets scrambled. It's hard to unscramble it. It's like trying to untangle a Brillo pad. But I think I have it, and I'll show you what else I've been up to. There's a couple things on the layout, and I've talked to you about a couple of the scenery things. But I'll show you what I've been doing, and it occurred to me when I was just updating myself on video 70 that we have 23,000 subscribers, and if I ever wanted to make it to 100, really all I need you guys to do is each one of you to go out there and tell 3 people and get them to subscribe. It'd be pretty simple. Be kind of cool if that happened, but with your help I could probably do it. Anyway, I would appreciate it, and I don't want to sound like every other cliche video, but if you give a thumbs up and like the video and that kind of crap, you guys know all that, and you are all of you guys are very respectful of what I do, and I certainly appreciate that. So anyways, let's get on to this video instead of all this advertising crap and see what I got going on. Okay, gang. As you know, I was having all these shorting issues and everything, and as I said, my brain was all scrambled up. But what I finally realized is the combination of these turnouts and what the combination of those being thrown was affecting everything that way. And so I decided, well, why don't I just start gapping those pieces of track and see how it goes? And let me show you how I do it. Okay, this is something I learned a long time ago. Still applies today. Most of you may know it, may not know it. But on almost any track, when you get ready to gap it, you use the thinnest blade possible, which you saw that I use, and you can see how thin the Dremel blade was that cut that, and this one here. Now, I prefer using the black super glue, the flexible black super glue airplane guys use. I think I've said it before. But anyway, I put a dab of glue in, more than a dab, because the glue container's kind of screwed up. But anyways, put some glue down in the crack, each one of the cracks, stick a piece of styrene down in there, just a thin piece of styrene, then come back with a chisel blade, cut the top of the styrene off, and then of course you can use your track cleaner to file that off, or you can use a file itself. Then on the inside of the rail, as you can see on that one right there, you just cut the styrene to the contour of the rail, and you do the same thing to the inside of this rail. The outside is kind of inconsequential. It doesn't affect the running of the locomotive or anything. This could be trimmed up a little nicer, and I may do that before I go to ballasting. You can see right back here, right there, and I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but anyways, back in here, back in this way, I put some of that black super glue in there to hold the rails in place. But once you get this glued up and this glued up, and they're offset like that, so you don't get any track kinking if you're on a corner or whatever, it's not going anywhere. And then once it's ballasted, you won't even notice those. But I did that to all the tracks here in this yard area. And hold on one second, let me get rid of that. Let me bring you back into the real world here. I did that to every track here on this yard ladder, all the way up. Now over here, well, over here, where am I? Over here, this turnout here has insulating joiners. Well, this one's not. This one's soldered, but it has an insulating joiner here, and I fed it from. Hold on a minute. I'm having trouble negotiating my camera. From way back here, I've got two feeders on this track, feeding down this way to this turnout. It feeds onto that track and comes back to these insulators right here. But anyway, once I started doing all of that, everything seemed to start clicking. And my brain's still not clicking. I still got some pins out there. But anyway, I started running a locomotive, couldn't figure out why I was getting shorts, all kinds of stuff. And it turned out that that was the major problem. However, I have made a change in the plan. So, let me show you that. I guess if I start over here, you can see that right over there, well, behind the building there, but you can see that that turnout still comes off the main line and dead ends over there. That's going to be a bad order, become a bad order set out only. It is no longer going to go around the back side there and tie in to the reverse loop over here on to my right, or to our right, because I never could get that to work. So I abandoned that track, and I think I'm going to leave that siding in there, and I'm going to take that one little piece of curve out of there and just make it a bad order track. So it would give some interest to the layout. If you had a piece of bad equipment, you could park it there and have another train pick it up another day. So anyway, that's what that's going to become over there. And then I'll have more room in the back there. As you can see, if I can turn this somewhat, you can see that I've moved the Cato track way back, moved the junkyard way back, done a curve around, and now that yard, or that lead back to the junkyard, comes way back against the mountain there to, and hang on a minute, I'm trying to see in my camera. Let me get something to point with. Back to this turnout. And then that turnout goes into the reversing loop. So if I want to turn mainline trains, it'll just complicate things a little bit more, but it'll give us more to do. The train will have to come into the yard, come through the yard, come into the branch line, go through the branch line, go down, reverse, come back out of the branch line, go back into the yard, and back out on the main line. It's that simple. Instead of just coming off over here to the left and coming in there and being able to do it. So it is what it is, and this is the way it's going to be. And just like the real railroads, we're just going to deal with what we have. So if I just kind of spin you around here a little bit, nothing really changed. I've insulated everywhere I need to insulate, and the train runs on every track out there that you see, including the ones right here below us. All these turnouts work. The crossing works, getting over to the other area over there. All the tracks in the other area work. All the yard tracks over here work. The runaround works. Everything works. The reversing loop once again works. Everything is hunky-dory like it should be. So I am a happy camper. I still have the soldering iron. Hang on a minute here. Still have the soldering iron running right down there because I have to solder all the feeder wires underneath the layout. Get them all soldered up. But all this trackage is working. Yoo-hoo! I'm a happy guy. So now basically what I need to do is I can start ballasting that track. Actually, I need to paint the track first, and then I can start ballasting that, and I need to, as I go along, I need to put in the sleeper ties along the way, but it's all ready to go. So that's where we are currently at. There's going to be a little bit of a delay in that because I simply have to get some of this junk out of here that's laying on the floor that belongs somewhere else. Now let me show you something else I'm trying to get done. This is kind of a disaster over here because when I was looking for my shorts that I thought I had that were elsewhere on the layout, I pulled off a bunch of locomotives. But anyway, the auction house is still on for here, and I will take some still pictures of it as it sits this very day. I only have some window frames and stuff to put on and some door frames and things to put on, and then I can start painting that thing, and it's turning out pretty nice. I like it a lot. I've got to put some lighting inside of it, and we'll be on our way here. Now let me show you another problem I had in the middle of all this shorting stuff. I decided that when my brain was all fried, that I was going to move some trains around up in the yard area. So I cleaned up a little track, not real well, obviously, because I had a hard time, but I'll get there when I get that far. Excuse me, I've fallen asleep on you guys. I'm sorry. I didn't sleep very good last night. I had a medical procedure the other day, and I didn't sleep too good. But anyways, this DS64, and as you guys know, there is no buying DS64s anymore. You have to do DS74s, and I will explain to you why that's a problem here. I happen to have 2 DS64s left. This is one of them. I had to take the one that was not functioning, and generally if they're not functioning and they're not throwing turnouts, if you put your hand on them right above the D on Digitrax up there, it will be extremely hot there. If that's the case, that DS64 is a goner. I can put my hand on this and it's dead cool today, but if you can't do that, if you put your hand up there and it almost burns your fingers, that DS64 is, pardon the expression, toast. So anyway, I replaced it, but all these wires that you see hanging down here are all going to the engine facility. Now, as you can see on this DS64 and all the other DS64s, on the first one on the left, I have switch 1, 2, 7, and 111. On this one right here, I have 104, 103, 102, and 101. And on this one, I have 202, 201, 106, and 115. So the beauty of the DS64 is that you used to be able to program each one of those slots individually. Now let me tell you why it's a problem on DS74s. Okay. While the DS74 is a little more compact unit, and I like the way the tabs stick out for you to mount it as opposed to going through the unit itself, they function similarly and they have some more cool functions and so forth. But one of the functions that Digitrax apparently did away with, and I don't know this to be fact yet because I haven't tried it, is that when you program, you can only program slot 1. So in other words, when you're programming this, hang on, these two right here where my fingernail is would be the first slot, second, third, and fourth. So that you, of the decoders that you can use. Now, apparently you can only program the first slot, and then it automatically sequentially programs the other 3 slots. So if you select 31, what you get out of there is 31, 32, 33, 34, and you have no choice as to what you want those other slots to be. If you're like me and you number them by a main line and a branch line and a yard area, that doesn't work for you because you've got some numbers at one end, some numbers at the other end, and you want those numbers to coincide with each other in some manner that when you look at them, it kind of makes sense. But I have not started using the 300 numbers. I use the 1 through however many it is, 27 or something, and then I use 101 through 27 or whatever it happens to be, and I use 201s through like 210 or something. Well, what I'm going to have to do now is all these yard switches, since they're all hanging down underneath, will likely be consecutive 300 numbers on two separate DS64s. And yes, I have another one here. So when I hook those up, they will be like 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, and 306. I think there's 6 turnouts. But anyways, that's according to what I understand about them and what people are complaining about them about, that's the way I'll have to do it. Not a problem. That's something I'm going to get to here in the near future. Nothing new out here other than I moved some trains off the main line into the yard. Well, trains, one specifically. But I still have a poop load of junk down here. If we look on the floor, I had to move that cabinet over to get to the feeder wires, which are underneath, which will give me a chance to move that turnout wire and redo that because it's been hanging under there for an eon now. And that wire hanging down right there, I believe, is tied to the feeder wire that I thought I was going to run up to. Anyway, it's not being used. I'm going to take it out of there, but I have to solder the joints. And let me go under and show you how I do it, because a lot of guys ask me, how do you do your bus wire? Well, I'm going to show you here real quick. By the way, if you don't have one of these foam kneeling pads in a train room, you really need to get one. And this is a relatively large one. You can find them in automotive stores and garden centers. But anyway, let me show you down here. Okay, so what you can see here is you can see 3 new feeders coming down through. And you can see that I have the whites tied to what the whites used to be, because this bus line's been used before. So if I get in here as close as I can, you can see that there's white insulation on those wires right there and blue on those. But because I'm using the Pico, I'm using white and orange simply because this is the wire I had. But I've got to make, what I do is I strip them apart from each other so that I can put all of one on one, all of the other color on the other, and just solder them and never have to tape them up, never have to break the bus wire, never have to do anything. And all it takes is just a second, a little bit of flux, and some heavier solder. But I will be doing that. And while I'm under here, I'll show you a couple of more things. I tried a different AR1 on the reverse loop because I was having issues, but I may go and put the wires back on the reverse loop that's tied up there because I think it's still functional. I think I was having a brain fart. And you can see how at the end of the bus line here, I have a lot of wire twisted there that I have not soldered as well. Now I have a 110 wire going around the layout, and I have stuff plugged into that. One of the things plugged into it is a power strip. I have a bunch of power strips, so I still have room to plug in transformers for lighting or what have you. This particular 110 line here is for DS64s and 74s, simply because you have to leave them on so they will retain their memory, otherwise they go stupid in 3 days. So that's it. I'm going to show you across there. you can see that I put another power strip underneath along the front so I can plug in the vacuum cleaner, I can plug in the soldering iron, I can plug in the Dremel tool. And if I get out from under here, give me a second. Gotta move the camera around, gotta move my light. Gotta crawl on the floor like a turtle. This is what a turtle sees, by the way. Anyways, oh, I did not put one out here. I thought I put a power strip out here, but all I need is one there. Really, I just need something handy here to plug the, those kind of things into. You can see, of course, we've seen them before. My bank of DS64s over there plugging away, my UR93 radio unit, and my LNWI. So, another thing I was going to say is, where I just crawled in there, you might remember I had a folding table sitting there with a bunch of buildings and things on it. And I finally was able to get that folded up and put over here, and I will be able to get it out of the way. But I've got to clean up some of this wiring that you see hanging down. Oops, wait a minute, maybe you see it. Some of that wiring you see hanging down under there. Once I get that straightened up, I think I can put things back kind of where they go. And the only time I'll have to move them again is when I start hooking up lighting for the buildings and so forth. But I think that's about it, unless, as you know, I think of something else, but I don't think I'll think of anything else. Another thing I'm planning on doing, at least today, is I have all this junk. This is my rolling cart that I leave all my stuff on that I need occasionally. And this cart just stays underneath the layout most of the time. But anyway, I have some cork down there and stuff, and then I have, as you guys know, there's some of these blister packs on the vintage page, but those are the ones that I kept, that I liked, and I've been trying to figure out a place to put them, and I'm thinking about raising that light up all the way to the ceiling, that one right there, and then I'm going to put them up on the wall above the horny toad and in that vacant area up there. I'm running out of wall space, or I am out of wall space, so that I can get to anyway. So that's likely where those are going to be. I don't know, but I got to get them up off the floor if I'm going to save them. I may move the flag somewhere else and put some down here. I'm not exactly sure, but I got to do something with them and get them out of the way. And I've got to get a lot of this stuff put away, picked up. I just have a poop hole in here. I'm also, at some point in time, and I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but I need to put a piece of chair rail or something behind the chair there because it bumps into the wall and scrapes up the wall all the time because I move it once in a while. But we'll take care of that one thing at a time. And you can see how lazy I am. My radio antenna is still laying. Everything's still laying. I've had my brain on this track, and I've got the track going. The track works, and I'm happy. Okay, gang, that's about it for 71, and I hope you enjoyed it. And as usual, look at the vintage page. And thanks for watching.